The views and opinions expressed by the guest author or speaker during this live session are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Reader's Magnet. The content shared is for informational purposes only and does not constitute endorsement or promotion of any particular belief, ideology, or product.
Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another awesome day here at RM Hive, and you're tuning into Reader's Magnet's featured author interview. I'm your host, Revan, and today's guest is a retired journalist with nearly 4 decades of experience reporting, editing, and uncovering the stories that shape small town America. A Vietnam veteran and an award winning writer, he has earned state level recognition for his work and later turned his skills toward authorship. Please join me in welcoming the author of Mosaic Pieces, Wes Skillings. Hello, Wes. Thank you for
Hey,
joining us here today. How are you?
thank you. Good to see you guys. I don't see anybody
Yes.
else yet, but I see you. So,
Yes. So by the way, I've just had this your book, Mosaic Pieces,
hmm
Surviving the Dark Side of American Justice. I'm very interested in it. I believe it was back in I don't know, July, September when I got hold of the copy of this book. So
uh
I've not read it all, but I love how it's like the cases of these different people and you're uncovering them. So, what or who inspired you to write this book?
well, first of all, Mosaic Pieces is not your typical true crime story.
Mhm,
It's not an unsolved murder. It's not a cold
mhm,
case. A man was tried, convicted,
mhm,
imprisoned, and released back into society to embark on what has been an exemplary life years ago.
mhm,
Nevertheless, a more likely suspect, in my opinion, got away with murder. I
mhm,
entered the case as a young reporter for a newspaper in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, which is
mhm,
home of Little League Baseball, and published an investigative series more than 3 years after his trial that pointed out the numerous discrepancies in the case against him.
mhm,
Other investigative series on the case followed in the 1980s, but the urgency to correct an injustice dissipated as Kim Hubbard, still in his
mhm,
30s, this is the guy that was convicted, was released to resume his life after more than a decade of incarceration. So
mhm,
for a lot of people, even people that thought it was, read the stories and felt that he was unfairly tried, it was sort of like, hey, no harm, no foul. He's young. He'll get back. Appeals for a new trial continued while he was in prison, even as it became increasingly apparent that evidence used to convict him had been compromised. His
mhm,
father, Joe Hubbard, who uncovered much of the newly discovered evidence in just weeks after the trial he was on the case, died in, I think it was 1989,
mhm,
proclaiming his son's innocence. That
mhm,
convinced Kim, who had returned to his hometown, married, started a family, has a daughter who's now an adult, and started
mhm,
a successful business and blah, blah, blah. That is what got me back to the case because his parents had both died, knowing he was
mhm,
innocent, trying to get people to listen to
mhm,
why he should be exonerated. And that's what got me back in the case. And I too owe a debt to Joe Hubbard, the father, and his obsession with proving his son's innocence.
mhm.
So it's also a compelling human interest story.
True.
Like people that when they read about the family and the type of people they were, will be impressed by the. Well, they were strong-willed people, caring people who got screwed. Really,
Mhm.
yeah.
True. And you know,
That's
it's
what inspired me to write the book. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I really love that there are actually different stories in it, and these cases and the people that are involved in it, and
Yeah.
uh it
Well, it's
also
the same
gives
case.
us.
It's the same case. It's just a long
Mhm.
haul, but there's a lot of people involved. We had,
Yes, a lot of people involved in it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and
Um,
they have
and there were
their
cops that tried to
true.
sue one of the attorney. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah. So, what lesson will your readers learn from the book?
Well, the subtitle of the book, as you know, is "Surviving the Dark Side of American Justice."
Mm-hmm.
which is not meant to scare readers into feeling unsafe in a
Mm-hmm.
legal system that once regarded as the fairest system
Mm-hmm.
of justice in the world. Some of that perception of crime and punishment is not so highly regarded in the 2020s as it was in the more innocent 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
But despite all the safeguards in the system, including innocence until proven guilty, even in American justice, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Mosaic Pieces presents such a case where police and prosecutors sometimes prize a conviction more than making certain the right
Mm-hmm.
defendant is tried and convicted. I wanted readers to meet this family, who was besieged by police who naively cooperated as the best they could, knowing their son was innocent. Of course, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Only they entered a nightmare of persecution. Well, because they were unprepared for what must have seemed like a no holds assault on no holds barred, I should say, assault on.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal is to introduce the reader people to this unique family: Joe and Dorsan, the parents; Ruthie, the sister; and of course Kim, the convicted killer. As
Mm-hmm.
for the true crime component, readers cannot help but come up with their own theories and what is really sort of a whodunit. Um,
Mm-hmm.
present enough evidence over the course of the book, introducing
Mm-hmm.
all characters, and I think people will see that maybe somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
notably somebody else, but one person or more, were really responsible for the murder, and Kim Hubbard got blamed for it, and he's still going. He's a sharp guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a strong guy, and I think people have to realize that now that we know through DNA that a lot of people over the last few years have been convicted of serious crimes that turned out they didn't commit. I think there's
Mm-hmm.
some like
Sure.
the Innocence Project said there's like 375 or more people alone that have been exonerated just from DNA alone, in just the last few years from past crimes, going back as far as the Hubbard case or the Jennifer Hill is the name of the girl who was killed. That's they call it the Jennifer Hill case. So that's one of the things that's it can happen even in a and good people in a
Mm-hmm.
jury, they only can go by what they hear, what they're told in the testimony. So you can't always blame the jury. I think you can blame sometimes how the evidence is presented and what is left out.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I don't want to keep going on in that, but it's basically what the lesson is, I think.
True.
And
And it's a very strong lesson,
yeah,
especially if you've been sued, correct?
right,
So
right, right.
yeah, so you really have to speak the truth there, and you have to gather all these
Yes,
pieces of evidence, and yeah,
right.
because some people are actually convicted of this sin, even though um allegedly or reportedly they are not the one.
Right.
Some of these cases actually happen in real life, and these people go to jail, and then they spend for example, um 18 years in jail, and they are innocent, and they have
Yeah.
spent these 18 years, they've lost 18 years already.
Well, some of
So
them, by the time they get out there ill, they can't pursue
true.
a job anymore and that type of thing. So
Yeah.
ruin
Yeah.
their life. He
True.
was
True.
lucky. He's a young guy. He got out when he was in his 30s. So
Mhm.
I think that's one reason why some people were so willing to go along, maybe with, you know, uh, cutting some corners in the
Mhm.
evidence. They figured he could handle it. I don't know,
Yeah.
but that's not the way you do it.
Yeah. So, by the way, Wes, what difference do you see between a writer and an author?
Well, I think an author is more than just somebody who writes. I think a writer can put anything down that is formed in his brain, but an
Mhm.
author has to self-edit and make judgments about those words and sentences, including how do they relate to one another,
Mhm.
educate, and even entertain their reading audience. On the other hand, one distinction often cited by writers between writers and authors is the latter. The author is a profession. A
Mhm.
writer, we all do that, I guess, most of us do writing, and some of us do write. I worked in
Mm-hmm.
newspapers, so I had a lot of my things published. So I was more. I guess I'm not an author until you write a book, in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but an author needs an audience. A writer
True.
doesn't necessarily. A writer can write for himself, write in his
Yeah.
diary or whatever. Yeah, so
Yes.
that's but they're interchangeable in some ways too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes. Some people actually find them interchangeable, but I actually agree. In you,
yeah,
you can become an author once you have this is just my personal opinion. Once you have published a book, because before I actually published a book on Amazon before,
did you?
but I was scammed by this other company, and it's not on Amazon anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
I
So
was too.
I'm
I didn't
yeah.
get. I got twice. I've been. Somebody's tried to scam me. One was for a big movie contract, actually, with a
Uh-huh.
story. Supposedly, well, I won't mention the companies and
Mhm.
everything, but you really look legitimate. And
Uh-huh.
it turned out I had to provide so much money for for the screenwriting for the movie.
Mhm.
Then I would reap all this big award. So we're all authors. People with published books, especially in my position where you're still going for acquisition or whatever you want,
True.
is that there are a lot of sharks out there in the waters. They're
Mhm.
after you. And writers want to, it's important for them to get their book out and let people read their book, and
Mhm.
they're fair game, I think, like you
Yeah.
experienced, yeah.
Yeah, and I have to write my book again so that I can become a writer
Yeah,
again,
do
an
it.
author again.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, and yeah, and that's a good thing that I'm already with Reader's Magnet. I can just have it, but I'm not finished with my manuscript yet.
Oh, yeah?
So yeah, so I have to go back from scratch so that
Yeah.
it doesn't have my memory from that Cami company
You
anymore.
saved you saved your manuscript, right?
Yeah, I saved my manuscript.
Yeah, good, good.
It's in my email. and,
Yeah,
and by the way, I have another question. So,
yeah.
what differentiates your book from other books in the same genre or category?
Well, I think most of all, this is a human story. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's an accent on the murder, the crime, and the murder itself that obviously
Mm-hmm.
has to touch into it, and how the Hubbard family survived what was an aggressive prosecution and the sequence of tragedies over 3 generations for Joe and Doris Ann Hubbard. Um, they're gone. They died. They died knowing and hoping their son would be proven innocent, and it didn't happen. But maybe they're up there somewhere watching. Even
Mm-hmm.
though it fits a true crime genre, it is more precisely narrative nonfiction.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it fits with it, even though true crime is part of narrative nonfiction family.
Mm-hmm.
The latter includes biographies and memoirs, journalistic investigations, which is how mine
Mm-hmm.
started, and historical narratives, all which are part of the Mosaic Pieces, those types of
Mm-hmm.
things. And there's even science. There's even a science narrative, which is another genre
Mm-hmm.
part of the narrative nonfiction, which is in my book because there's one whole chapter called A Body in the
Mm-hmm.
Field that talks about decomposition of a body. This body was supposedly
Mm-hmm.
out 9 days in nice weather, warm weather, uh,
Mm-hmm.
which played a big part in what went wrong with that case or what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I laid out the stages of composition of a body if they'd been in that field for 9 days. And so there's a little science involved too, you know what I mean? And plus
Mm-hmm.
later in the
True,
book,
true.
there's a lot case study of DNA and the good points and bad points of DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's I don't know. I think it's sort of educational because I learned a lot from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's enough. There's people. There's elements of danger to the family, people being threatened. That kinds of stuff, and just the suffering of the family and how they
Mm-hmm.
held their heads up high. They were just that's what impressed me about them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I stayed with them, kept an eye out on them. I'd go visit them once in a while, see how it was going. They had their case on appeal, and they're trying to get a new trial for a long period.
Mhm.
But that fell through, not for various reasons. Although they had two Supreme Court justices, Pennsylvania Supreme Court,
Mhm.
who said they should get a new trial, but they were one person short of getting it. So they had some close calls of maybe getting it back there and him getting his fair day in court. Yeah.
True.
Yep.
And you know what? What my favorite thing about your book is that it's like a documentary. So
Yeah, it
when
is
you
that.
read it, because of this case, it's the story in it. So
Right.
because some people actually love documentary like the crime. So for all our viewers out there, is if you are interested in reading and if you want to read about this true crime, it actually happened, and this is for you. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's such
Right.
an interesting book as well. And Wes, what inspired you to start writing, and how did you develop your passion for
Well, I
storytelling?
had to because I was a newspaper reporter. So,
Mm,
and I was in Vietnam for a while.
mm,
I've told stories in news articles, feature stories, personality profiles, certainly on a almost on a daily, sometimes weekly basis.
mhm,
Hundreds, probably over the years, thousands of articles. Some of them are just
mhm,
reporting a county commissioners
mhm,
meeting. Others were full blown personality profiles of interesting people. Crime, I covered a lot of trials, and that type of thing. So I was writing all this time,
mhm,
and it all came about because in college, after I got out of
mhm,
left Vietnam, went to college on a GI Bill. My
mhm,
college professor, and it was a creative writing course, mentored me, and he got very excited. He felt that I was a really good writer, entered me
mhm,
into a national contest for undergraduates, sponsored by Atlantic Monthly magazine, and
mhm,
I placed in the my category, which was basically an essay, a nonfiction
mhm.
essay type of thing category, and that's what started it. And he wanted me to go to graduate school in creative writing, but I had a wife and a child at that point.
Oh.
So I think, what can I do to write? I didn't, just don't go home and write. So,
Mhm.
what's the option? Newspapers, and that's how I got
Oh,
into that.
okay.
So writing
That's
got me
how you
right.
got into it.
They don't pay very well at times, newspapers, but what are you
Yeah.
going to do? Yeah, it's fun, you
Uh,
know. But
but
that's
you
how it started, and so I head in that direction. And of course, when you start writing, every once in a while I think, I could write a book on this. I got another book
mhm,
on that is about a young man with brain
mm,
traumatic brain injury. Matter of Recovery is the name of the book.
mhm.
I wrote that several years ago, and
Nice.
again that was nonfiction too. It was a character study, so I like to
Yeah,
get close to the people I'm writing about and try to show people what's inside these people, because there's a
true.
lot of people that you should respect, and they don't have to have a lot of money
Yeah.
to be well
And
educated.
you being a journalist, you actually find these unique stories as well that needs to be
Yes.
heard,
Well, yeah,
right?
and people turn, that's one job where people sometimes they're not worth covering, but you get tips on this and that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so
And,
a lot of people out there want, once they see that if they like your writing or your
mhm,
reporting, they'll be the people that get you
yeah.
you know what I mean?
So this book, Mosaic Pieces, this actually deals, that case that you talked a while ago. What do you find to be the most challenging aspect of your writing process, and how did you overcome it?
Well, I worked as being a newspaper guy. Everything was on a deadline, so I had to learn to write fast, but still have be thorough and not make any mistakes in my reporting, or you have to be factual and you have to work on a deadline. This case where this is something that developed over all those years. You start out, you do a big which series on the thing, and then um, at one point, I think after Joe Hubbard died, he died a pretty horrible death. As far as he get killed or anything, but he had a really bad illness that took his life.
Mhm.
And after Joe died, um, there's a few years went by, and Kim, his son,
Mhm.
who didn't want anything to do with it because
Mhm.
he didn't want it to happen to him what happened to his dad, where he got so obsessed.
Mhm.
He was just going to go out there. He's going to make up for the 10 years he missed out on. And but at some point after his dad died, it struck him that his dad had collected all this evidence, even the tires that were on the car and all that stuff, And
Mhm.
he realized, I didn't, I can't let this go. So he decided he's going to seek exoneration. He's working on that now, uh,
Mhm.
that type of thing. And so that sort of got me back into it when I heard he was doing that. And I said, well, let's write that. So I'm going to write that story. It evolves over so long a time, it's hard to explain to some people.
Mhm.
It's not like we have a crime and this is what went wrong. It was about a long developing process.
True.
And that was
True.
probably the biggest challenge. And keeping people interested in these characters, these real characters, and the impact it had on their lives.
Mhm.
And small town America was part of it too, Yeah.
Nice. That's really nice. So, right now, Wes, I'm going to give the floor to you. So, if you can tell us about your project, your other books as well, and where we can find your book.
Yeah, well, the obvious places, it's at Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And I understand it's in every once in a while I get something from some big bookstore someplace that is carrying it. And I'm not much of a businessman, so I probably should be paying closer attention to
Mhm.
some of this stuff. But I do feel it's sort of a legacy for me. If
Mhm.
if we get some sales, and I fulfilled my goal of publishing the book. It'd been
Mhm.
nicer if and I finally got a literary agent who I think is going to do a good job uh,
Mm.
from here on in, and Reader's Magnet has helped me along the way.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, that's what's going on. Reader's Magnet has given me another website. Uh, my my own website, which I used after I retired. I was a copywriter,
Huh.
copywriter, which mostly for business websites. You do
Mhm.
blogs for them, but
Yeah,
that
I was
was
a
a lot of
copywriter
fun.
too.
Yeah, you gotta like. I'm not real
Uh-huh.
big on business reporting, but I did it to make a few dollars in my retirement. That type of thing. And
Mhm.
so that's one thing. And so I have that website, and I put blogs on that if people want to.
Mhm.
My blogs are mostly, I can get serious, but I like to have fun on my blogs and more of a humor type
Yeah.
of thing. And I love to explore the English language and all the silly,
True.
and you probably love that. So,
All of us want to
but
explore it.
there's a
It's
lot of
weird.
funny things about the words in the English language.
True.
So just stuff like that. And the other websites that Readers Magnet developed for me, I'm just starting to explore them. So I don't even know how to tell you how to get to that one. But
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay.
you guys can probably do it. But
Mhm.
anyway, that's what's going on. And then life goes on while you're doing all this stuff.
All
So,
right.
yeah. And my wife and I are both 78 years old,
Mhm.
and we're both healthy. Neither one of us is on any kind of prescription drugs.
Mhm.
So it's not going to last for everybody, but hey, we're
You look
healthy.
healthy
We're
though.
looking
Yeah.
for the book that hopefully the book
Yeah.
will develop and
Yeah.
start getting a little more attention before I bite the big one or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's about all there is to that.
All right. So everyone, Wes Skillings, get your copy of his book Mosaic Pieces on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. So it has been an awesome time with you, Wes. Thank you for joining us here at Readers Magnet. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
And guys, let's open the pages and unravel the secrets of your personal odyssey. And I believe that your ink never runs dry. So go tell your story, you storyteller. This is your host, Revan, and as we say it here at Readers Magnet, we share your story with the world.
World.
Bye for now. Stay awesome.